Let's bring in Democratic Senator Mark Warner of Virginia. He's the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and he was vice chair of that committee when Republicans ran it back in 2020. That's when that Republican-led committee said interactions between Trump's 2016 campaign manager, Paul Manafort, and a Russian intelligence officer represented, quote, a grave counterintelligence threat. Senator, it's good to have you on the show. To what do you attribute his inability to answer a question or remember anything?
I don't get it. And if John Durham or anybody else wants to find out what happened between Russians and the Trump efforts in 2016, you can go out and read all 5 volumes of the bipartisan, led by a Republican senator, he was chair of the Intelligence Committee, where we interviewed literally hundreds and hundreds of witnesses and laid out in more detail, frankly, than the Mueller report did, all of these interactions. You can reach your own conclusion about what that means, but there are literally thousands of well-documented pages that was incredibly and fully bipartisan. What this guy was failure to answer, maybe he was on a witness stage and at least enough of a lawyer not to want to perjure himself, but these are well-known facts. And even folks affiliated with the Trump campaign didn't deny most of the facts that the questions just laid out.
I mean, what would any conclusions that you can draw as to why he wouldn't want to just come forward with information that was basic?
Because you got me, but you've got this whole kind of jihad almost coming from some of these, Trump supporters to try to say, let's tear down the FBI, let's tear down law enforcement, let's basically incriminate everyone who has been in the law enforcement establishment for years. I never thought, I'm now an old guy, I never thought I'd see a day when you got the Republicans leading this much of an organized charge against not only the FBI, but frankly, law enforcement, the intelligence community writ large.
So, Senator, we mentioned you're on the India Committee, and we wanted to ask you about the Prime Minister's visit today, state dinner. And he is going to be, we should note, answering questions in a news conference, maybe just 1 or 2, but the first time he's appeared at a news conference in his 9 years since taking power. But there's been a lot of human rights groups who were troubled by this appearance, the fact that he's being feted with a state dinner. White House aides have suggested that the president will address human rights issues with the prime minister, but do it privately to not put it out on public display. Those critics say, well, on public it'd be more effective. What do you think should happen today?
Well, first of all, I'm proud of the fact that the India caucus, my co-lead is John Cornyn, Republican senator from Texas. We're the largest country-to-country caucus in the Congress, 42 senators, bipartisan. I think this relationship between India and the United States is quintessential in the 21st century. India is a nation. I was just there in February, most populous nation in the world. India's time on the world stage has finally arrived. They've been an aspiring nation literally for decades. They've got great optimism. I think this relationship is important. Listen, as friends, I've expressed some of my concerns on a whole host of fronts. I think we've got a strong enough relationship to be able to do that. But I also know in terms of military arms sales, in terms of trying to encourage India to get off the fence on Russia-Ukraine, in terms of trying to make sure India is enormously concerned with the challenges that China posed, this relationship and strengthening it, again, we are the two world's largest democracies. That's always a tagline that we always use, but we got to move that relationship forward, and I think the Prime Minister's visit will help do that.
Senator, I'd like to go back to our democracy. You know, this hearing yesterday with John Durham was one Republicans called, one Republicans wanted to hold, but the Democratic members of that committee seemed a lot happier with his with how that hearing went than the Republicans did. It's the Democrats who continue to focus on and refer to the Senate Intelligence Committee report that dealt with these issues. Republicans, not so much. Has there been any credible attacks or corrections or errors in the Senate Intelligence Committee report that was brought out by your committee in a bipartisan way?
Well, that's the remarkable thing. This is the most voluminous research and work on this issue. It was literally years and years of work. It was all bipartisan, thousands of pages. Yet I don't think we've heard, to my knowledge, a peep from Senate Republicans, or for that matter, House Republicans, about, one, the way we approached the subject, any of our findings. We did not draw a final conclusion on collusion, but we did lay out everything we'd learned, and I think that document stands. And if anybody wants to seriously look at what happened in 2016, and as we now look about potential intervention from Russia and other nation states, particularly with the advent of AI coming up potentially in 2024, I still think that document stands as the best work yet. And I say this with all due respect to the Mueller report that wasn't nearly as extensive, to kind of be a guidepost going forward.
So, Senator, I know you're involved with relocating the headquarters of the FBI. I'm just curious about your thoughts on your Republican counterparts, some who are attacking the FBI consistently, want to defund it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's again kind of wacky. I mean, I've grown up in politics where Republicans were always supposed to be the party of law and order, and all the way back to Richard Nixon. And yet, listen, we're in a ferocious competition with our friends in Maryland about where the headquarters ought to go. But the two things that some of the House Republicans are saying, I've not heard much from the Senate Republicans, but where they're saying, oh, we're going to take it out on the FBI and we're not going to give them a new headquarters. Well, that's clearly evidence of a whole lot of folks that have never been to the FBI headquarters, because this building, the J.F. Hoover building, is literally falling in on itself. It's got dripping corridors. It is, frankly, getting in some areas unsafe to work in. And what just a sign of disrespect to the literally tens of thousands of people who serve in the FBI all across the country, not just here in Washington. But I know we're in that topsy-turvy time of politics, and in the Trump area, what's up is down and down is up. But I think it is an enormous sign of disrespect to the FBI, who in many ways, working with our intelligence community, protect our country.
Yeah. Chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Democratic Senator Mark Warner of Virginia. Thank you very much.